Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. This is our Sunday night shit show. And boy, are we in the
Shitty?
shitter. Yeah, we're shitty. How are you, Pat?
Boy, are we shitty.
Boy, are we
I'm
shitty.
good. I've had a
Yeah.
week, as you know. Got the self-inflicted wound. I got my accounts hacked on Microsoft, and now my bank card's got all this fraudulent claims. So I had to cancel my bank card all in 1 week. Fun stuff.
All in like 3 days, too. How is
Yeah.
your crazy gash?
It's fine. It's like, I don't know if you can
Look
see
at
it.
you.
It's
You doctored it up.
yeah, it's fine. I got immediately treated it, and it's gonna heal just fine. But it's a deep one. It was kind of a I won't get into it, but it
you
wasn't
like
a pretty
cleaned it
one.
out properly and everything?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I went right to the first aid kit at the place I was
Okay.
working, and
Yeesh. Oh,
yeah.
yeah. It sounded really grisly. I'm sorry, but I'm glad that you're healing. Although, what was really sad was to hear that the reason, and I'm sure it was coupled with actually having 2 reasons, but that you didn't want to go to the ER because of COVID. And then I'm sure also you were thinking about how much it would cost to go to the ER.
Yeah. So for me, luckily, it would be fully covered. So I wouldn't have had an expense associated with it, but that's
Okay.
for most people. I probably did rub some dirt in it while I was working.
Spit on it or something.
But for me, it was just the ER or urgent care, whatever. But
right.
the idea of just sitting around and potentially getting COVID for something, I'm pretty sure I handled fine myself,
Yeah.
But it's deep enough that there's no doubt I should have gotten stitches. But that was the consideration, is like, do I want to go in a COVID central place?
It's Josh, my husband and I were talking yesterday, and again, we're like the only 2 people we know who, in LA together, who mask indoors, and he was like, why do you think so many doctors are fine with it? Because they're actually, it's all of the MAGA crowd or whatever was told it's just a cold. Then Biden gets in charge and they manufacture sort of the social end to this whole thing. And all the libs are like, yeah, it's over. It's no big deal. It's just a cold. Biden ended it. But like the people in the emergency rooms, and I mean, I know we see some of them online who are talking about it, but there are lots of doctors who must see it all the time. And so I'm really trying to understand that psychology.
I think it's just the power of peer pressure. And their management doesn't want them to admit that masking is a problem.
Right.
The insurance companies don't want to. Everybody wants to pretend it doesn't exist, and so at some point that pressure is on you.
Yeah,
it is more important than the truth. And then obviously, because of confirmation bias and things like that, you start thinking, well, it isn't a big deal. I heard from this study, the desire to find a way out of it and to just be normal. The pressure put on people enables you to take and believe stuff that you wouldn't normally. And I think that's just collectively, they all.
God, you just want something better from medical professionals.
It's embarrassing. It really is, because the science is clear as all fucking hell.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's right. I think doctors aren't always trained in science, and there's a real lag time between, we're able to spend time, like online reading studies, and when you're working a 12-hour shift, or like you assume that you're sort of getting the knowledge that you need. But I don't know. It's pretty sad when even the people who are supposed to be on your side are blithely walking through cancer ward with no mask on.
Well, it's a lesson to me to not respect anybody. I mean, treat people with respect, but don't cede knowledge to somebody just because they're an expert or something, because a lot of these people are not keeping up on anything.
I know. It's funny. It's that whole fishhook thing, right? It's like, I mean, I could see, like, establishment liberals or whoever. It's like, we're the do your own research crowd, or don't listen to the experts, or like how George W. would be like, oh, all the highfalutin people, the liberals on the 2 coasts, the elite educated Ivy League people. Meanwhile, he went to Yale, whatever. But like that idea of the meritocracy and like lording your degrees over other people. And like normally I do think that people who study more no more. It's the way it's supposed to be, but somehow it's not matching up. And sometimes when I talk about doing my research, I realize I sound like the people who do their own research and, treat themselves.
Yeah. But on the other hand, like I worked in law for years, and lawyers look, outside of their particularly niche field that they practice, you can know a lot more about the law in any field than they do.
Right.
With a couple hours of research. And that's not all of them. I mean,
right.
And there's a foundation that you learn, but and they're not particularly intelligent as a group. And this is a high level degree. So,
Yeah. I mean, it's like that joke, what do you call a med student who graduated last in his class? Doctor. Like, there still is somebody, like there's the bottom is still there. But anyway, yeah, it just feels like you wish that at least that segment of the population would back up the science. But
I mean, they took an oath, more than most fields do.
Do no harm. Do no harm. Anyway, glad to hear that you are healing.
Thank you very much. And I'm fine. I was never in any pain from it. It was a totally easy thing. So that part of it is no biggie. How are you doing? What's up with you? And thank you. By the way, I want to thank Lila on air because my credit cards got nuked because of all this stuff. So she ordered me a pizza because she's a hero. She ordered me a pizza.
It's my pleasure. I was like, should I tell you to get a salad also or some extra stuff? No. I was like, no, I'll let you just do whatever you want.
She did make sure I had enough beer already. She was probably going to send me some beer.
I was definitely going to Postmate the beer there. Of course, it was totally my pleasure. And that just stinks. And it is also a really good reminder that we should always have a little bit of cash around.
Which is true. And I actually gave it to my coworker on Friday because our boss didn't pay us. So I'm like,
oh my God,
here's some money. And I gave him all my cash. So there's that.
Yeah. Hold up your beer. That's pretty funny. I do keep seeing it disappear.
Sorry. It's the, it's cool. I'm not drinking. This is a pro tip. If you're on Zooms at work, this could be anything.
That's right. I like it.
Get a green screen effect and buy green beers.
I love it. Yeah, I normally, like in the stands, just bring a water bottle, but
there's that.
Okay. Should we start talking? Should we do our cheers to our members? And
did I hear anything about your life? Because this is my least favorite part of the show. I had to go through it. So let's hear it from you.
Nothing. There's nothing really interesting.
We're swapping roles here. All right.
I mean, it's just like all I do is complain about the world. I get in fights with the few friends I have. Feel scared and kind of sad for my kids because I am sure they are repeatedly getting infected at school as they say, oh, no, I'm just sick, not feeling great, whatever. And then no, but I still, went to practice and, like all the things that you're supposed to do. I am very fortunate that I work from home and can sort of put myself in a bubble, but like, I don't really want to be here if my kids aren't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to just be healthy and preserve my own health if they keep being infected, because that's what our society has forced us to do. So I'm just sort of constantly in a mood that makes me not fun for my friends and my husband to talk with me because I cannot compartmentalize at the level that other people seem able to do.
Gotcha. Well, I've mentioned this before, but I'm super good at compartmentalizing and it's hit me too. So,
there's just,
I think to be completely normal and comfy now takes it's almost
like a cognitive dissonance just to be like, it's okay.
Yeah. Josh, what's up? Yeah. Cheers. And cheers to everybody in the audience.
I didn't say anything mean about him yet while he's tuning in. It will come. It'll come. All right. So here we would like to thank, as always, our ever expanding list of members, our pup heroes and churros. You guys, thank you. We love you guys. It means so much to us, and the fact that it keeps growing is really amazing. So thank you. Please, yes, do be sure to smash that notification bell and like and subscribe. helps the algorithm and all that fun stuff. But yes, cheers. Here's my jug of wine. Cheers. It's very funny. In my DMs, I get all sorts. It was, by the way, I do have to say, it was Josh yesterday at dinner who was like, "How's Pat's arm?" And I said I hadn't asked you yesterday. I had talked about it the day before.
Josh cares.
Josh cares about you a lot.
But you sent the pizza to make up for it because of Josh's good work yesterday.
There you go. Yeah, it's all Josh. It always comes down to Josh. But what is funny to me is my husband, who writes the most gory, gruesome, disgusting horror scenes, kill scenes in movies. And we have like all over our office piece, like the prosthetics, like the my sliced head off, or a scalp, or beheaded people, or like grisly arms. When Josh sees blood in real life, not joking, he faints. Like faints.
Yeah, it must be some sort of was he drawn to this?
I'm sure it's
because
like
of it
work
somehow.
Through it. It's like a fear factor kind of deal, right?
Yeah, well, he's good at it. I'm still dying to see the 50 Cent movie. Gotta get that out there. I look for it every once in a while, and it's still not released.
It has not been released yet. I have seen 50 Cent. The white people on set were told just to say 50 Cent. He seems to be very happy with the revelations coming forward.
The Diddy stuff.
With Diddy, yeah. Like I think he's been trying to sound the alarm for quite a while.
Yeah, I think he's got a tell-all documentary thing he's behind coming out about it too.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I definitely want to see that. Yeah, not allowed to say it. Not if you're white. I am not allowed to say it. Okay. So then for our cheers, we would like to remind everybody how this started last month, when for the Journalism Emmy Awards, Bizan Oda was nominated, and there was a group of Hollywood Zionists who signed a letter authored by the pro-Israel nonprofit Creative Community for Peace, urging the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences to rescind the nomination of Bizan Oda, who was recognized in the news and documentary category for It's Bizan from Gaza and I'm Still Alive. And there were, I don't know, like 150 plus of the biggest muckety-mucks in Hollywood.
Absolutely insane. I mean, these are people in the arts coming out saying to take away a nomination for someone in the arts.
In journalism. Like, yeah, it's disgusting. Who is like, knowing that like 172 journalists have been targeted, that Israel has now shut down Al Jazeera's station, that nobody is allowed to report there unless it goes through the IDF. Like, it's such it is the absolute antithesis of everything our country pretends to stand for, in a free press and democracy. And so here these people put this out there to make sure that this young woman, who, is lucky to survive each day, which is why she starts out every video journal, the way she does. So this was from just a couple days ago at the Journalism Emmys.
And the Emmy Award goes to It's Bizan from Gaza and I'm Still Alive, AJ Plus reports.
Accepting the Emmy, John Lawrence, Senior Executive Producer.
The carpet bombings happened in the streets without any warning, and people are killed every single moment. This is a really tough day that Gaza are going through.
They bombed the door of the hospital. They bombed. I've been there before 2 minutes.
We'd like to thank the Academy for this recognition. This award is testimony to the power of one woman, armed only with an iPhone, who survived almost a year of bombardment. Over 100 Palestinian journalists have been killed in Gaza, including several of our Al Jazeera colleagues. Our bureau in the occupied West Bank was shut down at gunpoint just last week. We thank you, our journalistic community, for this recognition for Bizan and for the AJ Plus team, and we urge you to join us in saying that journalism is not a crime. Thank you so much.
So cheers to her and to all of Al Jazeera and Al Jazeera Plus. I will say also, and we didn't want to show it because it was the Emmys and we would have just right away, they would have stopped our stream. That video was put out through AJ Plus, but at the Emmys, there was like a 2-minute, 3-minute montage that the Journalism Emmy organization put out with several journalists, some US journalists amongst them, who were speaking out in support of Bizan at the Emmys and reminding people that, the toll on Palestinian journalists, the danger they're in, their killings, and that journalism isn't a crime. And one of them was, and I forget her name, a blonde woman who was actually confronted by a woman at the Egyptian border at the beginning of all this. And I can't remember, Clara, I can't remember, but she actually was also speaking up. And I think probably she's been slightly chastened. I mean, she's an actual journalist who goes on the ground. But anyway, I don't even know what there is to say anymore. But anyway, here's Bizan and all the people who are able to keep trying to show the truth, because boy, the US and Israel are doing their damnedest to shut it all down.
Here, here. Cheers.
Cheers. All right. What do you want to do? How do we start?
Let's spin the wheel to cleanse a little bit, and then we'll get into it.
All right. Here we go. Oh, Pat, I did it. Oh, yeah. I actually am the one. I'm never this person when we set up, but I actually did get it to like fit the whole thing before Pat arrived. I
got a little OCD about the spacing and things like that. But
I feel very proud that he approved. Well, okay, here we go.
Yeah, baby.
All right, cheers. I am not doing shots today. I'm just drinking my jug of wine continually. But to anybody who takes their edible or a hit or a shot,
I think we declared Sunday officially no shots day.
I know. It makes that part of the wheel feel less significant, which also maybe we need to rethink something.
Yeah, maybe I'll work on the wheel this week.
Maybe we gotta do something. All right, let's spin it.
Yeah, baby.
And it makes it much less interesting when that happens. What am I gonna do now? All right, I'm gonna remove one of those. Yeah, we didn't think this through. I was a little overserved a couple nights ago.
Yeah, baby.
So the thought of mixing those two right now. Oh, come on, that's ridiculous. Yeah, I'm taking it off. This is crazy.
You are magic.
For sure, I will be drinking plenty. Don't you worry. I'm just not doing the shot. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, baby.
All right, say what? I think we only have one though, right?
Yeah, it's a doozy
too. This one. Oh my god! Well,
I should just set this up. If you don't know who James Carville is, you're probably young. But even if you do know, this was a little shocking to hear him go on a 3-minute rant about Donald Trump and how he probably doesn't wipe his own butt.
Well, wait, sorry, but before you start, he was like the war room of Clinton, right? That's his like big thing. That's where he got his start.
Top 10 consultant.
Yeah.
He came up with the phrase, "It's the economy, stupid." They trot him out anytime they want to attack Republicans or lefties.
Yeah, he's just hideous. All right.
So here he is at his own house. And if you notice, he's got his fly open too while he's doing all this. I caught that. Awful. So here we go.
This is the most election of our lifetime.
And I sped this up
as you can see,
25%.
Very sensitive area, the sphincter area. And as we pointed out, his sphincter is extremely large. Or you could do this. You could actually do it with a washcloth. Now, you're going to have disposable. You have trouble disposing of this because it doesn't flush like toilet paper. So I don't know how you get rid of it. Maybe, tell you the truth, you could call Lindsey Graham, and I'm sure he'd be glad to take care of it and probably dispose it and take a sniff or something along the way. But this is very important, is to do it this way. Do you do it this way?
Remember, Republicans are weird.
And each one has its own challenges. But remember, Archimedes said,
yeah, I don't know, displacement, and somebody says, give me a liver and I can lift the world, and give me an extension and I can get to my fat arse. I don't know what the answer is, but let me suggest this. And like I say, we've had some health professionals who have come up with many different ideas. I was surprised by the number of health professionals who think that I'm onto something, that it is highly likely that the man is not capable of defecation hygiene. In other words, he can't wipe his own arse. But we're going to keep exploring these things as we go further. We're not going to accord this rotten motherfucker one iota of humanity or respect because he has given up any idea that he should be afforded this.
Look at his fly open. Here's this guy.
We got a lot of things to discuss going forward here. It's not going to end with this. There are many unsanitary, gross habits that he has, and we're going to continue to put this out. I've had certain suggestions that maybe he could try going from the front, but I think the weight of scientific authority, that doesn't help much because he's still got to get his little bitty tiny fingers, as I pointed out. That's about what he's looking at around his gut and into his arsehole. But these are questions that have to be pondered. They have to be examined. They need scientific explanations. They need engineers. They need nurses. They need healthcare workers. They need physicians. There's a whole community of people in this country and around the world that can help me address this.
Like, we are apparently in an existential fight for our democracy, and this is what he's trying to do to appeal to voters to swing the election for Kamala. Like,
yeah,
you're so gross.
The whole thing is based on fat shaming Trump, and like, look, there are plenty of people in the world as Trump's size, and they can wipe their asses. So, I mean, this is just really insulting to a lot of people, I'm sure.
I mean, it is. It's like the whole weird thing. It's just disgusting. It's just so cruel in the midst of everything that's happening that this is, what they trot out to be funny, and it's all they've got. That's really all they've got.
This is the appeal, yeah.
Yeah.
Trump can't wipe his ass. JD Vance fucks couches.
Hilarious.
Like, if you can't win on the issues against these two fucking cretins, like, when they go high, we go low. I mean, what is it? What are we doing here?
Yeah. Yeah. That is so gross. Wait, I had like 3 different thoughts and they all just blew right out of my head. That's just so sad.
Probably the point of him.
Oh my God. I know.
All you can focus on.
Kamala, whatever. Jeez, that's terrible. Oh my God. I cannot even think. Yeah. All right. Let's just, let's get into it.
Absolutely.
You ready? Let's
yep.
do it.
What do you got? What do you got?
Oh, I thought we're gonna do the fun opening.
We don't have it for Sundays. Remember?
We did last week because it ramped us both up. All right, fine. All right. So we're gonna start.
Gets the fun going. Here we go.
Let's get that fun going. All right, let's just do a quick thing because that kind of leads into 2024, and the whole issue is right now they are admitting, even in the pages of the hallowed New York Times, that Harris has a lot of strengths, but giving interviews isn't one of them. They posit in this article that it's because she's used to preparing a cross-examination and a prosecutorial takedown of her rivals. And when she's being interviewed, she's the one who's on the spot. And so she has a very difficult time and feels caged in by being asked questions on trying to be the most powerful person in the world, but it makes her uncomfortable.
Yeah, and you're the most powerful person in the world, but you're also supposed to be the leader in every room you're in. Like, everywhere you go, you're supposed to be the beacon of logic and have that Obama-like stature of,
and be
grasp
able to
of
defend
the
your policies.
right.
What are your policies?
And so, you know, this is where that one debate is doing all the heavy lifting because Trump is so bad. But we should be having another debate, which I think we'll still get. But look, she's not talking to the press. She's not giving interviews. She's doing exactly what I predicted.
Right.
Because she had a good debate, they're hiding her as much as possible.
100%. I'm writing down the things I was thinking so I can actually focus on you. Okay, I thought this was really interesting that even in her Oprah interview, that they tried to act like it was some town hall, you know, where people would ask her questions. Even there, she had cue cards or a teleprompter up there for her answers, which were almost all entirely like, you know, word salady, sort of like vague ideas about how we're moving forward. They wrote that down for her. And then she would sometimes go off script, which, you know, you can always tell she would kind of close her eyes and put her hands together and talk about, I mean, I grew up in a middle-class family, but then, you know, she would like, we're better than that. And I believe, but like what is the vision? Like, what is the vision right now? Nothing. And people are seeing it. Like, she's still neck and neck with Donald Trump.
Yeah, look, when you put out opportunity economy, she's appealing to this blanket, like we're going to come across as sort of Republican. The USA is the land of the free, opportunity, you know, that's kind of the whole big thing of it.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing really behind the opportunity.
Pull yourself up.
Yeah, the opportunity is if you come here legally, which we're going to stop. She's probably going to be deporting people soon.
Well, they just put her down at the border. And instead of like crying at the side, she's now like in her flak jacket looking like a top cop.
Right. They put her at the border like a top cop image is what they wanted. And she basically came out there and she gave a longer speech, but it was basically the don't come speech.
Yeah.
That she said, you know, under Biden, don't come.
Give us your tired.
So now you have to, well, the policy she wants is that people requesting asylum have to do it at designated asylum entry points. So you can't just say, oh my God, I'm going to die if these people get me. You have to say, you have to travel to the exact spots that's right for that. And then, oh my God, I'm going to die. Even though it's in our constitution that we're supposed to allow anybody fleeing persecution entry into the US.
Or at least to appeal for asylum, right?
Right. But you can't even get to, you won't be able to file that appeal if you're not at a designated center.
Right. And they're all like these inhumane caps on how many people are allowed to file for it, which is against our law, our charter.
Right. And she did, sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's okay.
She did, the big thing she did that annoyed me about the border speech is she conflated two problems just like the Republicans do.
Right.
She conflated fentanyl with our border problem.
Right.
Even though she did say, you know, most fentanyl comes across through the checkpoints in cars, which, you know, if you follow the logic of that, it means, oh, it's not the immigrants. It's just people in cars bringing it across from Mexico.
Right.
But she conflated all that and blurted it all up so that she could say, yeah, I want to stop all the Mexicans from coming in too, basically, to people that want to hear that message.
Yeah, she is just like Biden, helping make the case for immigrants, migrants, the way they call them now, illegals. I haven't heard her say illegals, but are danger. They're a danger to our society. And, you know, there's this, I mean, we're going to be talking about climate and war, but, you know, the other part of it is when they say, oh, well, they're just economic asylum seekers. Well, what do you think happens when you're in an economy that's starved because the U.S. has either deposed your leader and put in one of their, you know, puppets, or a fascist puppet, or the sanctions are so barbarous that you can't get medicine or food in your home? Like, people act like, oh, you have everything you need. You just want like a fancier car. No, when people are economic asylum seekers, like those have downstream effects when your economy has been so suffocated and sanctioned by the US.
Right.
Destroys whole countries. So that's a real thing. Like, that's not just like, oh, I just wish I were making a little more money at my job. That could be
then throw in there also all the impact we have as the U.S. as the biggest climate. The U.S. Army is the biggest enemy of the climate there is, and
Absolutely.
so a lot of these migrants coming that are fleeing to Mexico and then to the U.S. are fleeing because their country is in peril from the climate change.
Yeah,
we've got whole islands. We had the first country disappear entirely thanks to the climate. About a year ago, I think it was.
Yeah, an island off of Jamaica or something. I can't remember right now, but yeah, I mean, yeah. So we're not talking root problems anymore. We're just going to criminalize the people that we've made sure are living through some of the worst crises that we've created. However, if you ask some brilliant, Washington Post editorial writer like Eugene Robinson, seriously, people, why is this election even close? And his big reason that he thinks points to a study that says people think this is, he points to this poll, but that Harris's gender is a threat to her campaign. More people think Kamala Harris's gender is a threat to her campaign compared to Hillary Clinton in 2016. And they tried to really make it all about her gender and how sexist everybody was in 2016. They're going even further with that with Kamala, which, listen, I remember people excusing Hillary for voting for the Iraq War in 2016. They didn't do it in 2018 when Obama swept the nation and people were really excited about him. But when it was Hillary's turn, they said, well, she was a new senator from New York. It had just been attacked, not by Iraq, but just been attacked. And she needed to look strong. That's why she did that vote. If you need to look strong, if your desire or necessity to look strong forces you to lie our country into invading another country and killing 1 million of their citizens, in addition to our own military, you're not right for this job. Like, if that's how you make up for that deficit of perception, you should just extricate yourself from the whole job-seeking process. And they're saying the same thing about Kamala, like saying they'll have the most lethal military. What kind of Democrat says that? I mean, now we're all Dick Cheney Democrats in this country, but like,
yeah, but they're trying to both sides of the thing too. They're trying to hide behind, she's softer behind the scenes, but like you said, they're using this like, well, she has to get elected, and to get elected, she has to remain as tough, on Israel. And no, she keeps putting out statement after statement saying that's who I am. I'm gonna be just as pro Israel as anybody, and she is. She's proven it.
I don't know, that other thing that people say, like Trump would be worse. There are so many Palestinians, Palestinian Americans, Arab Americans, Muslim Americans screaming out to everybody. Nobody in the history of Israel has ever been worse for Palestinians than Biden Harris. Nobody. It's not even close. So
it's like saying, I mean, we always bring up the Hitler thing, but like, imagine saying, well, we got to vote for Hitler because we're pretty sure the next guy is going to be bad too.
By like 1%. Oh. Yeah. It's just
probably going to be worse.
Sorry. And we're going to talk about this a little bit, but we won't do it justice for what people are suffering through. But Cora, I didn't realize you were in Asheville. The videos coming out of there. Oh, okay. Your sister. Yeah. I mean, it's horrendous. I'm so sorry. We'll cover it a little bit, but we won't do it justice. It is just terrifying, but I'm sorry. I just know that if I don't address it when I see it, it's going to go up in the DM, in the chat, and I won't be able to come back to it. How is our opportunity economy going? It could free us. I don't even know who wrote this, Pat. Who wrote this stupid?
Oh, Jesus. I don't know. I pulled the clip of it. I read the article, but like to put the argument out to the world that this vague, ambiguous policy could finally free us from poverty. Is absolutely insane because there's no, sorry for the cat nostrils.
It's all just filling out forms and tax rebates, tax credits, whatever. There's no.
Make the argument that it's going to be better than Trump or something, but like to take this vague, unstated policy that's this opportunity economy and say it's going to end poverty is just fucking batshit.
It's really pretty crazy.
Insulting.
It really is. There was also, I don't know if everybody saw that Ken Klippenstein, intrepid independent journalist, was suspended. I don't know if he's back or not, but for posting on Twitter X a link to the J.D. Vance dossier, which was, it's like the Oppo research that Trump's campaign did on J.D. Vance and the other people who were contenders for VP, just to kind of figure out like where he stood and what could come back to haunt them. And one of the things I thought was really interesting was some of his votes and some of the proposals he's made and some of the Bernie Sanders, proposals that he has supported are to the left of how Kamala is running right now. I don't think that he's to the left of anything. I think he's repugnant. I can't stand him. But he has signed on to some, or had signed on to some labor bills, that made him, and he was very critical of Trump initially. And now, he's disavowed all that and whatever. They all just blow in the wind for whichever way.
He was very Mitt Romney-ish as a Republican.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is technically left of the Democrats now.
I mean, crazy. It is crazy. But this was interesting. Half of federal assistance programs like food stamps and Medicaid now go to the middle class, which means there's no middle class. And the number of people in extreme poverty is way bigger than you realize. RIP Nina Illingworth's account, which I loved. She's taken it offline now, but always one of the smartest people out there. Yeah, go ahead, Pat. Sorry.
Well, I just want to point out the obvious that, if you're in the middle class surviving on public assistance, you're not in the middle class, and our country is in a bad fucking place.
I mean, truly.
And, a lot of that is that these jobs that we keep creating are low paying jobs, and we're subsidizing the profit owners of places like Walmart and Target, Amazon. All these places aren't paying enough of a wage for people to live on, so we have to subsidize that, which means our tax dollars get funneled to the owners, basically. Exactly.
And in addition to that, they also get tax credits and incentives to build their new warehouses in cities,
right,
where they're then going to not pay people enough, while also basically forcing small businesses out of.
Right. Well, also, and this is the Walmart formula, is the Walmart formula, which has changed a little bit because people are onto the gig a little bit, but they would come in, get all these big tax incentives to build a new Walmart because it's going to provide all these jobs, and they would sign a contract for 5-10 years. And then as soon as that contract's over, they would either threaten the town to give them some more money, or they just move to a new city and do it again because the new city is going to want jobs. The mayor running in there is going to say, hey, I created these jobs. And all the economy of the city government is even going towards these businesses that are fucking over everybody. So the mayor,
they close all the small businesses and then they jet out of there 5 to 10 years later.
Yep.
While double dipping, while we are all paying their salaries, their bonuses, their tax incentives, and their employees. It's crazy. Why are they allowing student loan repayments to restart like 30 days before the election? What is going on?
It is the worst possible time to impact young voters, but it's not even just young voters. It's people with student loans. I mean, it's like hitting 40 and under the most, because you're talking about people with graduate degree loans and. But
it is actually, I mean, you're right. There are people who are like wanting to retire who are still having either to deal with their own loans or loans that they help their kids with.
Yeah, and I mean, personally, that's where I feel stuck. Like, I would leave this fucking country and abandon my loans, but half of them were co-signed by my parents from my grad school, and like, I can't leave my parents on the hook for these loans, so I have to start paying these loans in 30 days. So a special fuck you to Kamala Harris, and which this is unnecessary.
Completely, they could just cancel all of it, finish it, end it.
Even if they're not going to cancel, end it, whatever, they have the authority to suspend it now. That's irrefutable. So to not do that now, and I think they might. We'll see. Nobody's talking about it, but I think the pain that's going to come,
like joy right before,
like to not just say, you know, oh, 3 more months, and then you get past the election is crazy. That's like trying to lose crazy.
I mean, it just feels insane to me. And she has not even talked about, I mean, all the things that were on the 2020 platform that have been stripped, that we no longer talk about at all. It's just incredible.
Well, you know, the child tax credit, you know, cut child poverty in half, allegedly.
Yeah.
And so we're going from articles about that happening to, oh, her opportunity economy is going to end poverty with
for small
no
businesses,
data, no plan. Like, at least that they had something to fake some data on.
Yeah. It was actually cash in people's pocket. Like, they could actually materially see how they were being helped.
Right. And now we got, you know, instead of calling her to account and the press saying, hey, we want to hear the details of this policy.
Why are you so sexist?
We want to have you interviewed. We're getting articles about, well, you can't expect her to be good at interviewing because she's a prosecutor, you know, and well, she's winning now. Why would you want to risk her having a bad performance and Trump wins? You're the fucking press.
Yeah. And then there's this other thing, which is so ridiculous. Like, what's Trump's policy on that? No, he's not offering anything on it. It's shitty. Like, it sucks. But now that they both suck on that, people are looking for other things. So it just becomes like the smallest sliver of, oh, he mentioned whatever I mean, I don't know why anybody would vote for him. I don't know why anybody would vote for her. So, like, we've stripped all of policy away. There's no policy. There's no hope. There's no like economic opportunity. It's ridiculous. And then when he does say something like a 10% cap on credit card interest rates, she's got her surrogate billionaire Mark Cuban coming out and attacking him for being
socialism.
Yeah, a socialist like Bernie. So those are your choices. Enjoy those. And if you don't, you're going to just be like lambasted by the whole, you know, liberal force.
And any of the policies and either one of these people are talking about that are going to help the middle class are not going to happen. Not a single fucking one of them are going to happen, because Kamala's going to, her side of it all is so vague that it's like, well, I didn't say it was going to happen. I said, Congress, bring me a bill. You know, I said, Congress, bring me a bill. Well, you guys didn't left enough Democrats. So, you know, I didn't say it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Trump's not going to do it, but she just follows. I mean, Trump was the first to say, you know, no tax on tips. And then she followed it because it's just like, well, I'll do it too.
I'll
do it too.
Yeah. I'm shocked actually that she's doing as well as she is, only because, I mean, I guess he's just so hideous. I mean, he's just so hideous. It's the best thing that the Clintons ever did for Democrats. What is going to happen when they don't have Trump anymore and they actually have to run on something? The best thing that she did, even though it cost her her only dream in life to be president, was Pied Piper Trump, and then have the whole corporate media establishment decide that he is as bad as Hitler.
I mean, ultimately, her strategy of the Pied Pipering Trump in was the best thing the donors to the Democrats ever got.
Yeah.
Which is because they're the same donors that donate to Trump. I mean, the corporate donors won because it took everything to the right, and we're going further right. After Trump, it won't be a pivot to the left. We won't have like, oh, look, now that Trump's gone, we got a little moderate guy on the left, on the right. No, this formula is what they got. The donors fucking love it.
Yeah, it makes me crazy. All right. Makes me crazy. It's really awful. Okay, so let's go to
We should pick a lane, shouldn't we?
Climate before we go to the Muslims for Harris and stuff, right? Because that kind of keeps us in who is now supporting her. Do you want to show her little climate speech, or should we just like just talk about her endorsements, or what do we want to do?
I mean, let's hear from her first.
It's 20 seconds, so brace yourselves.
This is her entire climate plan.
Yeah. It's expensive.
So we know the climate crisis is real, in spite of some people who would call it a hoax. And we know there's so much good that we can do, so much work that we are prepared to do. So let's get involved. Let's stay in touch. Please, if you are interested in doing more work, text climate at 30330. See you out there.
Wow.
What the fuck is that? Like, this lady is expanding fracking. She's running on, I'm the fracker. I'm the fracker.
I'm the fracker. Not going to ban it anymore. This is, climate activist George Monbiot talking about fracking, just as a reminder of where we are with all of this.
I support the aims of Just Stop Oil. We need to stop buying fossil fuel. We need to stop extracting oil from the North Sea and everywhere else. At the moment, our government, in common with the governments of most powerful nations, is totally committed to continuing to extract oil, gas and coal from geological strata, and that is driving us towards planetary catastrophe. All the science shows us clearly we need to stop extracting fossil fuels, and yet they want to expand that extraction. They want to open up new fields. This is completely unacceptable. They are putting the survival of the fossil fuel industry above the survival of life on Earth, and we need to turn that around.
But then you have, Obama just a few months ago saying, if we get to, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. If we can't hit 1.5 degrees and we get to 2, 3, okay, let's take, pragmatic. There's nothing pragmatic about that, and nobody is doing anything to fight it. You cannot be the climate, the opposite of denier, affirmer, climate change believer, and also be pro-fracking. It's impossible. It's a lie. And so to see these other organizations like Climate Defiance and the Sunrise Movement come out to support her, it's devastating. They don't have to do that. Like, why do that and not say, no, we're supporting, listen, and I understand there are more people than just Jill Stein, but she's probably the third party candidate who has the most recognition right now, the most ability to get electoral votes across the country. But fine, don't, like, if the thing is, like, she probably won't win either, and I prefer, Joe Kishore or Claudia Dela Cruz or whatever, like, great, support anybody who believes in protecting our climate and banning fracking over Kamala. Like, all you're doing is just giving her your blessing.
I mean, the obvious thing to me is just don't endorse. I mean, just say she would have to do this, this, and this to get my endorsement. And she isn't doing this, this, and this. And because she isn't doing this, this, and this, she's actually an enemy of the climate until she does this, this, and this.
I mean, so what is going to, I see this happens every single time, and it happens on the other side too, of course, like, when there were all the California wildfires when Trump was president, and he was like, I don't know if we should give you any money because you're a blue state and whatever. He came out and he walked around with Gavin Newsom and whatever. I mean, I don't even know how much money we did or didn't get, but of course, anytime anybody points out something bad in California or New York, the right will say, oh, that's socialism, and look what happens. And then anytime something happens to states that vote red, or red states, whatever, there is this strange glee that is repugnant from liberals about, I guess you should vote better. Meanwhile, like, when you actually look at how those break down, right? Yeah, sorry, good. Yeah.
No, well, but we're seeing that right now in Florida. I mean, all these disgusting comments about, red state Florida should drown and die. And You should have voted for these social programs. You should have given the Democrats a couple more Congress people.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Thinking it's like, a smoking section. Like, you think climate change stops at that border? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. So this was a crazy video right before the beginning of Hurricane Helene, which, I mean, the devastation, the videos coming out, but this video by a meteorologist at a local station kind of caught my breath, because there's no surviving this sort of a weather.
So let's now have a look at what that might be like. For example, we know Florence is going to bring 1 to 3 feet of inundation across many locations. That certainly is enough to knock you off your feet. It can definitely stall cars out and even carry cars away, and certainly flood many of the lower levels of structures. But we know Florence is also going to bring water rises well above that, perhaps up to 6 feet. Now, 6 feet of water, imagine that. That carries large objects in it, like cars, for example, that can act like battering rams and enhance the damage that would otherwise be. And also, we know that can flood the lower levels of many structures. We also know that Florence is going to carry with it likely storm surge well above that, perhaps 9, 10 feet, maybe more. That will totally cover up one-story buildings and structures, leaving them underwater, and certainly pose a risk to many. There are very few places that are safe when the water rises this high. So please, follow the advice of your local officials and heed the evacuation warnings, and of course, stay updated on all the latest forecasts.
Okay, and because everything is intersectional, how do you heed those evacuation warnings if you have no place to go? Where do you go? What do you take with you? Where are you going to stay? Like,
yeah, well, we just sent $8.7 billion for war over in Israel. Was approved, was sent after this happened, with no accommodations for what we're going to do for the people. And this is after the fact, but we knew that this was coming. This was a very predictable event. This is one of the most predictable. They were talking about it a week before it happened.
Oh, 100. Yeah, they knew. And we're sending like the Tennessee National Guard to the Middle East when they're needed there. Like, we need this money. We need people here. We need help here. Right. And then, there are other things, like somebody wrote a whole thread on how, I guess, the only mine that extricates or produces quartz that we need for semiconductors across the whole world is in one of the places, the mountains, that was really hard hit, that nobody can get to right now. So, like, then what do you do? And I mean, I think, like, I hate everything about COVID. The only good part was, for a millisecond, it felt like possibly it was an opportunity for people to examine how we were all living our lives, and that capitalism was killing everybody. And we needed to slow it down and stop producing so much, stop driving so much, stop going into the office, stop only focusing on getting the economy up and running.
No, it was a true opportunity for, at a minimum, expanding the basic healthcare services that everybody is affordable as a human right.
Right.
Because that was and is the best way to prevent this pandemic from killing everybody or disabling everybody or whatever the long-term effects of COVID are. And we let that go. We turned that into, now chemo wards don't mask, and they used to before. So that's where, every opportunity, the what do they call it? The disaster capitalism, basically, where every tragedy is an opportunity to eke out policy more beneficial to the donors and the corporations. We've seen that happen right in front of our fucking face. And the left has gone along with it, which is the most aggravating thing to me, which is why I won't shut up about COVID.
Yeah, COVID, 100%. I agree with you. But, and like, seeing these supposed climate organizations endorse Kamala is revolting, because you cannot believe in fracking and believe in climate change. And all that shows is that they have no plan to fix any of this. Like, we were supposed to be at 50% reduction of emissions by 2030. That's in 5 years now. We're not even close. Nobody's done anything.
And the really tragic part is, like, we're not talking about just normie people. We're talking about the climate activists who put their whole life into this thing. And so when they telegraph, you should vote for Kamala, like, it's such a campaign, you know, it's so powerful to people that just sort of look and go,
well, she has the blessing of the climate people.
Protesting. They're throwing paint on paintings, and then they're saying, you know, oh, vote for her now, because even they're doing it, and then even Bernie's doing it, and then even, you know, who you name it, all the people who are most critical of the administration are saying you got to vote for this administration.
Right. And the big thing that they say is like, oh, well, she's a better target for our action. She's more convincible. We'll push her left, and we just need to live to see another day. But that's not, I mean, like, we've been doing that. You know, it's so funny. Like, you have one person run like Bernie when he ran, who, you know, felt like he was going to be on the left and yada, yada, whatever. And he doesn't win. And then it was like, oh, see, that doesn't work. Don't talk socialism. You can't do stuff on the left. Nobody wants it, even though every poll shows that's a lie, and that the whole establishment conspired to make absolute sure that the will of the people is never represented. But like, one failure will, you know, get everybody to say, and that's why you can't do it that way. Liberals have been voting for the lesser evil for 50 years, and they've gotten us to a genocide, to 1 million COVID deaths after we had a vaccine from the Believe Science administration, and from fracking from a Democrat. So I would say that 50 years of doing this lesser evil, live to see another day, who's the better target, it's bullshit. Like, that's bullshit. It does not work.
It's bullshit. And even if you think, and even if realistically Democrats are better, if that's your thing, you know, like, you can do better under an administration of Democrats, your endorsement kills so much of your movement. Don't endorse. Just keep that shit silent, that you might be better off under that. Like, it's just such a movement killer. I just cannot understand it. I love the climate defense people for their actions, but like, we had one of them on the show, and she was like, but you got to vote Democrat. And we just kind of like, we're like, no, but that's truly how they feel at the end of the day.
It's just that's hardwired into people's brains.
It's really disturbing because, like I said, these people know more about climate than I do.
Right.
I mean, they're in the weeds.
That's their whole
They dedicated
deal.
their life to this thing.
Yeah.
And what that makes you think, well, they must be right. Well, I know enough about fracking to know that alone makes her unendorsable forever. It's like, it's like, well, except for the genocide. Well, except for the fracking.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, this is crazy. There was a video put out in Florida. Apparently, when electric vehicles are flooded with salt water, they can catch fire. So this video goes on and shows, you know, it's the person's whatever, what's the thing that ring in their garage or nest, showing that they're like, just their car's just sitting there, and as the salt water keeps going, and it just blows up, and their whole garage blows up. So that, you know, again, and we know, like, electric vehicles are not the answer. Like, everything is always a tweak, and also always a transfer of money to another corporation, right? Electric vehicles are not getting us out of climate change. We need mass public transit for free. Now there are videos of cops who are protecting shops where people actually even want to just come in to buy stuff. But okay, even if they loot stuff, think about the difference. Like, instead of paying cops to prevent, and this was, I mean, it was a whole thread by somebody who said, can anybody transport us out of North Carolina? We have a severely disabled son, wheelchair, and different accommodations that we need, and we can't get any of his medications or any of the, you know, we don't have power. When power shuts off, that's anybody who needs dialysis or any medical equipment, or, you know, And he shows, or she, I don't know, the store that they're trying to get to that is just lined up being protected by a group of cops. So whatever they're paying those cops to protect that store, the municipal, whatever, the city council, whoever it is, FEMA, like wherever it comes from. I know the politics explainers will, jump on this, but like instead of like, give it all away. Everybody take what you need. These are desperate times. And I, the most powerful person in the world who's sending another $8.7 billion to start the genocide now on Lebanon while it's still continuing on Palestinians, we will float your business for free. We're just going to give you guys whatever it is, $250,000 to cover everything. I don't know, 100, like whatever it is. So
hey, grocery stores,
yeah,
all your losses, we're going to cover them. That's
cover.
nothing compared to giving out the food, which would cost you more money because you have to have people involved. So,
and you don't need cops protecting people, possibly killing people, shoot, like none of that. Just instead of doing that middle mid person, let's just do a direct transfer to the products that are necessary for people's survival.
Yeah, and just while we're on electricity, since I'm an electrician and we're looking at the electric cars, all the people with medical needs, most of these houses will have an electrical backup system, generator or something, whatever.
Okay.
But newsflash, they produce 120 volts of electricity. So that is just like coming off the pole to the house. So when you have water and electricity, it is the same problem. It does not alleviate the problem.
Right.
And you've got all these people that have their own generators at home are like, oh, we keep getting electrocuted, which electrocuted, granted, is dead technically, but you keep getting shocked. If you have water and power off a generator, it's just like it's coming from an electrical pole. So you can die easily from a generator as well.
Yeah, I mean, that is good to know. This is so this is a little bit of video from Asheville, North Carolina. I mean, it's just so devastating, but underwater entirely. And this is when the water is still. When it's coming, did you ever see the movie The Impossible? It was with Naomi Watts. It was about that tsunami in Thailand. And they did a really good job because in my brain, it was always like the tsunami is like this huge wave and then it comes in like from Deep Impact or something. It was like a sort of disaster. But of showing that it's not like that. It is more like a river of debris. And somebody actually captured it here. So this is in Eastern Tennessee. A river of debris, which actually could have killed the people who were standing on
my
their
car's
porch.
gone.
I'm okay. It's okay.
The everything's gone. It's all gone.
It's okay. It's okay.
Well, what happens is obviously there are things that float in the water. They catch you in the leg, you drown. That's kind of that's what happens.
Just pieces of wood that's broken off a car.
In Florida, they're showing, alligators and whatnot. I mean, there's so much wild, and the disease, the sewage system gets tangled up in all this stuff. And
do not walk through flood water ever.
Yeah, no, if you're going to, after the fact, if you're going to go in around this kind of water, you need to be above it somehow in a boat, a raft or something. But underneath it, you can drown so easily in that kind of environment.
And it doesn't look like the way it doesn't look as dangerous as it actually is, because it's not the way I think many of us imagine what a tsunami is. But yeah, with even in addition to all the bacteria and raw sewage and all of that kind of stuff, but just those, pieces of branches coming at you.
Right.
My mother-in-law lives down in Florida, and she was very lucky, but her good friend, whom we stayed with just a few months ago when we were there for my brother-in-law's funeral, filled with 2 feet of water and his house, and then his brand new Corvette, that he let both my kids drive, which was incredibly sweet and generous and made me so nervous. just, overrun with salt water. It's completely demolished and they just had to take it away. So, but that is the other thing. Like, why don't rich people who live in Florida, why haven't they been fighting against like the factories and the big businesses that are contributing? Because it's affecting them too. Like, I get that no rich people care about poor people. I get it, whatever. But like, why haven't they been at least trying to legislate on their own behalves?
Yeah, I don't know, honestly.
Yeah. I
don't know. It's not insurance, because I think most of those places in Florida, a lot of them are uninsurable because the climate, this is where you look to the money. The money always knows.
Yep.
Like, if they're not insuring you because you live in a place, it's because it's unsafe, and they know climate change is real, and they know the risk is real. Yeah. So I don't know. But this whole tragedy brings up so many issues. Like, where is Biden on this? Where is Kamala on this? They should be using this moment. They should be using this moment to offer something to, this is a
roll of paper towels.
But this honestly is like such a handout to the current administration. If they handle this well, if they got out there and said, here are the social programs, here's what we're going to do. They set up an infrastructure in a good way. They win. You can win win a red state over, show Florida what the Democrats will do for you, but instead you don't even get a tweet. You get like a tweet about it. That's it.
Did we even get that? I didn't see anything. I mean, maybe, but like,
I've never seen such a big disaster ignored by the politicians. Like, I mean, even George W. Bush and they
at least flew by in their helicopter.
Katrina. Yeah, they recognize you had to address this, but they're just fucking flat out ignoring all of this, which is
entirely
bad shit. This is how far we've gone.
Yeah, completely ignored East Palestine. We're having Jordan Sheridan on next Sunday, which I'm so excited about, and I'm reading his book right now, and just the whole setup of how they destroyed Flint. And, all of the birth defects, neurological problems that people are having, and that it still persists. Obama went there and drank his fake water, 15 years ago? How much money would it take to fix that? And I know, I know we always are like, oh, the MMT people are going to, but like, there's always money for war. Nobody ever asks how you're going to pay for it, ever, never, ever, ever. And we just keep funneling it to the Middle East, to Ukraine, to the, defend. What are we defending anymore? Like, what are we defending? We don't have clean water. We don't have clean air. We don't have infrastructure. We don't have Medicare. Fucking in Israel, they all have free healthcare that we're paying for.
Yeah. And just to bring this back to electoral politics, I think the optics of $87 billion right now to Israel for a war that the country doesn't support, while seeing all the devastation happening over there, is putting a little asterisk or something in people's minds. Like, what the fuck, I don't know, an opening for us to get in there and educate people a little bit on how fucked this is. I think.
I really think that Democrats are in for a shock. And the thing that they keep saying is, how is it this close? Like, how are Kamala and Trump this close? What's wrong with people, the swing voters, whatever? They are discounting the fact that most people in this country do not vote because nothing ever changes. And those are the people you could be going after. And instead, or even just like the people who are supposed to be your own base, who just aren't going to show up. It's not that they're like, oh, is it Kamala or Trump? No, it's, why would I show up for this?
Look, yeah, completely. But it's the economy, stupid, is still a thing. Yeah. James Carville was right about that one, right? Yeah. And because, look, you can say Trump is going to bring the economy to a worse place, but it's hard to argue that we're not on a constant arc like this or like this downward of how we are doing if you're in poor middle class. So if you're poor and middle class, the last guy was always going to be worse for the economy because it's just going to keep getting worse. So if you're voting on the economy, it's always going to be replace the last administration.
Yeah. I mean, that is the rule. I mean, we'll see what happens, but like, she is the incumbent right now, and and I don't know why they keep talking about her as the change candidate. It's the strangest thing. Just, I don't know. Wait, I thought I had the thing. Did you take it away? It's fine. But there was a thing of Biden on The View.
I nuked it. Sorry.
I
was trying to make space for stuff. I thought
no,
that was from
I know
last week.
It's not even important. It's just so like crazy to me that he can still now go on and talk about how I didn't think it was going to be a problem. I still thought I was going to win. And Whoopi Goldberg's, I mean, I don't know. I don't watch The View. It's just a clip that popped up. But like, and Whoopi Goldberg said, I was your ride or die. I was there for you. Like, they are so out of touch with what is happening in most of America, in most of the world. It's just insane to me. But anyway, all right.
No, but the clip did bring up an important point, a reminder that all these people telling us right now how good Kamala is, we're telling us, oh, you can't put her in because Biden is so good. Like it's just shilling for the team. Yeah. The team's like, now we're moving on to Kamala. And like, I know you all hated Kamala,
right?
But now we all love her. She's amazing. And it's good that she doesn't talk to the press, and fracking is good. We love fracking. Genocide, she's probably better at it. I don't know. Well, let's not talk about it, but she's probably better at the genocide than Biden.
And don't be so privileged. Why do you care? Why do you care so much about the genocide?
Oh, look at you, white guy, caring about the brown people over there.
You know, I'm not a huge fan of Ta-Nehisi Coates because I think he sometimes has taken, you know, I think his takedown of Bernie was sort of unfair, but he had a bit of an awakening when he went to Palestine and how he was treated. And I think that the understanding, and because he was just profiled, there's a big profile in, I think, New York Magazine, the understanding that it is all it's all part of the same. Yeah, it is all intersectional. It's all part of the same capitalist cancer. And what they do there, what they feel fine about doing in front of all of our faces, while they are genociding people there and telling you it's for Israel's defense and sending people back to work here to die or get sick from COVID when we have no health care, and being pro-fracking and letting people in Flint, Michigan go with lead poisoned water. And, oh, hey, most of the country has lead poisoned water. Like, it's all part and parcel of the same project of the class solidarity of the wealthiest people in the world. And so, you know, there was a good little blurb, but quote from him on Black liberation. And that you cannot think that any of, you know, no one is free until all of us are free. I think there are too many comfortable liberals who really don't understand. I have a deep-seated fear, he told me, that the Black struggle will ultimately, at its root, really just be about narrow Black interest. And I don't think that is in the tradition of what our most celebrated thinkers have told the world. I don't think that's how Martin Luther King thought about the Black struggle. I know that's not how Du Bois thought about the Black struggle. I know that's not how Baldwin thought about the Black struggle. Should it turn out that we have our first Black woman president and our first South Asian president, and we continue to export 2,000-pound bombs to perpetrate a genocide in defense of a state that is practicing apartheid, I won't be able to just sit here and shake my head and say, well, that's unfortunate. I'm going to do what I can in the time that remains and the writing that I have to not allow that to be, because that is existential death for the Black struggle and for Black people, as far as I'm concerned. You know, all of these people with voices, like what you were saying with the Sunrise Movement or climate defiance, use those voices. You don't need to endorse. Just keep fighting for the thing we're all struggling for.
Yeah, just call out what you want from the administration. Say, I won't endorse, but this is what we need on this issue from somebody to get my vote.
Yeah.
It's not complicated. But if you endorse, you're not going to get that thing.
Nothing.
Because the Democrats are running to the right, which is going to be to the right of whatever that thing is you want.
Yep.
And they're not even going to fulfill those promises to the right. I mean, it's just bullshit. So if you can't even get them to fake support it now, they are not going to be pushed left to support something they wouldn't even put out there on their platform now.
Like if they won't even lie about it now, you're not pushing them left once they are in power, because they got in power with the donations, which is really the financial interest. Like it's an investment from their donors. We are giving you $1 million, so you do this for us. So all we have is our labor and our voice. Not even your vote. Your vote doesn't really matter. Let's face it. Your vote doesn't matter. But being vocal about withholding your vote might have some consequences.
Something. So I think we should.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look
we
at
were on
us.
the same page. So in sync. We can get. I don't even know. We'll come back to whatever. But we need a break.
Yeah. We need. I need to refill my wine.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, look at that puppet. Your favorite.
Puppets.
See something uplifting and fun, like good, make us happy.
Cats versus squirrels. Yeah, let's do that one.
Let's do
it. Revenge of the Squirrel. I love it.
Oh. That's very cute. I know I've said this before, but when Josh was back home helping take care of his brother, I was just here with Xander. So Xander is my younger son. He's like 6'2", big guy. And we go out back. I'm only saying that because we go out back looking for our dog, Lucky. And I guess a squirrel had like fallen from a line and died. And Lucky was licking it. So gross. I was like, Lucky, we get her out. And then Xander and I stood there seriously for 20 minutes, like around the corner. We would keep looking like who's going to pick up the shovel and put that in a bag to dispose of. And finally, he had to call one of his friends to come do it for us because neither one of us could do it.
Come on.
I know I'm such a baby about it. I just don't like touching dead things. It was so gross. But neither could Xander, which just made me laugh. It's like Josh with blood, but it just cracked me up.
Well, yeah. Pablo has desensitized me to that because he's brought me cat-sized rats.
No.
Cat-sized. Like, to my front door, whole murder scene up the stairs of blood right to my porch, and I'm not supposed to have cats, so I had to clean that thing up in the middle of the night. And the neighbors saw me like scrubbing off the murder scene.
Okay, but they should be so grateful because Pablo's taking care of the rat situation, which you're probably not supposed to have rats either, right?
Well, yeah, don't have pet rats. Well, pet rats is something different.
Or pets maybe, but oh my God. Yeah, and I can't do rodents.
That just reminded me of the first picture I ever took because I got strike from my parents' backyard because they have a cat breeding problem. I took a picture of it out in the plants. And I zoomed in and it was either eating a mouse or a baby squirrel. So it was one or the other as a kitten. So there you go. But I should get a pet squirrel just to fuck with my cats. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, but then you will never be able to go outdoor or leave them alone. You'll always have to have them separated because you don't know what will happen there. It's like a chicken nugget.
survival of the fittest. Let's see. I come home to 1 squirrel, 1 cat, 2 cats.
Oh my God.
Who knows? All right.
Yeah,
anyway,
I can't do it.
Back to
all right.
what do we got?
Back to all the fun of what, do we have any more climate stuff? I mean, there is, there's one climate person whom I follow who's always trying to, I mean, thank goodness for people like this, like show how we could be improving things, we could be doing things, we could be, he shares videos and screenshots of places, cities, or whole countries that are, like solar panels for their canals. I think it's happening in some place in the States. Rewilding is happening in a couple of countries, Scotland and in the Netherlands. And it is really hopeful. But I think until we take on capitalism, those are just sort of like small anomalies.
Yeah, I think China was doing that too. I think they were out in like some of the frozen areas, even planting trees, right?
Yeah.
But
anyway.
yeah, on the climate, I mean, we can't not recognize that they sentenced 2 climate activists to
oh my
a
God,
ridiculous sentence. We're talking years in prison.
3 years, 8 months combined in prison for throwing soup on a protected Van Gogh. Like, did not hurt the Van Gogh.
Not at all. Totally a.
This is in the UK. Just Stop Oil.
Yeah, and the thing about crime and the legal system is you have to show damages. I mean, look, you can be penalized for breaking a law,
right?
But what are the damages of this situation? What was harmed? There was no actual harm to the painting. So to give an activist 2+ years is really a scary precedent that they're trying to set here. They made an example out of these 2.
100%.
Talking about kids.
I mean, it's the same. Like, listen, you're protesting climate disaster that is killing millions of people worldwide, and it's coming for all of us in our own countries. Which, even if you only care about money, that will be, trillions of dollars in the end. But you're gonna criminalize the protest of it, just like criminalizing the protest of a genocide. We saw right when Biden got into office, that whole domestic violent extremists list included anti-capitalists, climate protectors. That's domestic violence. I mean, it makes it so clear what cops are there to do. They are only there to protect capital. That's their whole job.
And yes, while we're on climate, that intersection with Cop City is right there because look, part of the beef against the Atlantic Cop City is that they were clearing all that area in the forest.
Yep.
Devastating the environment locally. And climate activists were literally, they killed a guy.
Yeah.
They shot him in the back of the head.
Like 17 times. And then they lied and said he had a gun and he did not. Then it's come out. But once that lie's been put out there, that gets in people's head. And they're like, I'm sure he's a domestic violent extremist.
But these crimes against activists are not unintentional because they want to set the example that you should be afraid to protest.
Yeah.
You should be afraid. New York with the cops, all the Eric Adams stuff. I mean, that's all about like ramping up cops for no reason. There's no justification based on crime levels, murder rates.
No.
You name it. There's no justification whatsoever. Yeah. But they appeal to these mythology that people are stealing more,
right.
Like, oh, your shop, these thugs are just running and stealing stuff. And that may be happening, but that's not affecting society. People are not being killed by the group that runs in and steals some diamonds or steals some toilet paper, or breaks the locks open and gets deodorant at Target or something like.
And it doesn't even compare to the actual like billions of dollars of wage theft. Or again, like 10 million people die of air pollution every year. No, it's cheaper actually, right? It's cheaper if we had Medicare for all. That would be cheaper. It's cheaper to make mass transit completely free. That's cheaper than paying for the cops who protect the fare system. But what they don't want, because the only way they can control the working class is to keep us poor and working and knowing that if we stop working, it all falls apart. That's their one, like the cudgel they hold over all of us.
Of course it is, which is why behind a lot of this anti-protest stuff is the fossil fuel industry. They are pumping this stuff up because they are seeing that all these Chevron meetings get interrupted. Protesters are getting in their face. And the only path to first you have protesters, then you have people protesting directly, and then maybe something comes of that.
Right.
So they're going to squash it in the front lines by making laws to where interrupting a meeting is now like equivalent to screaming fire in a theater.
Right.
You know, so
and
now
keffiyeh is a hate crime.
Keffiyehs, you know, like keffiyehs. Yeah. I mean, we're going to get into the Jewish stuff, so I'm not going to touch it now, but like
Israel, Israel. Let's not conflate. What are you doing?
Listen, Zionist.
Sorry. Yeah, and making Zionist a hate term, hate speech at Columbia when, sorry, but like on that same stupid View interview, what's his face, Biden calls himself a Zionist. So like, it's only okay if you say it in a positive way.
He's still such a proud Zionist. Democrats are fucked. All right. So are we done with the climate? I mean, I guess.
Yeah. That's kind of it. Should we spin again before we get into Israel just to give a little
Of course, because my cat just came here and she's going to be annoying. So spin.
Okay, good. All right. Add stage. Here we go. Let's spin it.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, wait. Do we have another one?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's do it.
We have strike here. That's enough, right?
Look at that.
Here we go.
All right.
Otters, my other favorite animal.
Happy Sea Otter Awareness, everyone. I just strung together basically my most popular sea otter videos by view. So enjoy.
She literally has a million. She doesn't know what to do.
Blonde on her just like
Sorry, I couldn't even be put in a good mood because I was reading all these comments that I missed while we were raging. And, you know, it is so true. I think Cora and other people saying, sorry, Kimmy was saying that you're scared to march. I have been too. I mean, I've done marching for sure, but then there's sometimes where I'm like, I wear contacts because my vision is so bad. And if you wear contacts and you're tear gas, like that's really bad. And my glasses are so thick, I don't have peripheral vision. They are doing their best. Like sorry, because I'm trying to go back and read falsificationism. Like vegans were even put on that DVE list that the Biden administration put out when they first took power.
Yeah. Well, look, the mask thing at demanding people that protest don't wear masks, you know, like you criminalizing masking
in blue states
is the purpose of that is to make some people afraid of getting COVID and obviously to see their faces, but like there's no reason for it other than to squash protesting, like an effort to
I mean, and you know, everything that is happening in Gaza is being studied by our own military and our own cops who go train with them. You know, they have little Gazas in the West Bank to train IDF soldiers on how to deal with Palestinians. That is where our cops are getting trained and then coming back here with the cop cities. So it is all intertwined, and they absolutely will shoot first and then use taxpayer money to fight off all of the lawsuits. So
Yeah. And, just a reminder, like, I'm in California, Sacramento. We've always had basically the Republican Party always has to approve whoever's in charge of the cops here. And they've never prosecuted anybody here for cop for any gun charges or any crime. Basically, like you can't go after cops. Like that's a universal politician view. And the cop cities are just going to be coming after protesters so hard, and we have to stop them all.
Yeah, there's a really good citations needed pod this past week about how every liberal reform was actually only made policing worse, led to more deaths, and of course, just like every other bad thing, was heavily sponsored by different corporations that were either like AI technology or surveillance technology or weapons manufacturers to create the idea that this is going to help us, tame our cops. And well, as Chris Hedges says, the more effective evil, it's always Democrats who put their stamp of approval on some of the most draconian measures, and then liberals can get behind it and be like, no, it's just more body cameras. We just need to protect the border. We're giving you the border bill you want, you fascist Republicans.
Yeah, and just to bring it back to law a little bit, like cops don't even have any legal responsibility to protect you at all. Like, just so you know, like to go after a cop for not protecting you, you have to prove like 3 impossible standards, which is 1, and you won't win anyway. But to have a chance at winning a case against a cop who somebody died because they didn't, you had to go to them and say, look, if you don't act directly on this thing over here that is a very tangible threat, somebody may die. The cop has to recognize that that was actually a valid threat. The cop has to recognize that if he didn't do it, he was going to die or somebody was going to die. Right. There's layers of like ridiculousness, and they all have serve and protect as their motto or something akin to that.
Yeah.
And serve and protect capitalism is all
that's all they're doing.
That's their whole motto. That's the real reason cops exist.
And they've really been trained to feel that every situation is possibly lethal. I thought it was really interesting in 2021, I think, or 2022, that the cops, the most lethal part for cops, or the thing that killed most cops in that year was COVID. And also, it's always like number 20 on the list of lethal jobs, right?
Electrician here.
Yeah, I mean, it was like fishing,
way more dangerous than being a cop. Way more dangerous.
But when you're trained, it's like, if everything you see, whatever, if your only tool is a hammer, everything's a nail or whatever. Like if every situation you're put in, you're like, where am I going to die from? Then everybody is possibly a threat, and so then you always feel like you have to resort to lethal violence to go home tonight, and that is not, that is, here's the thing, it's like the system's not failing. It's doing exactly what it wants. And you can say that about every single part of our whole country. It's capitalism. The system is not failing at all. It is actually incredibly successful. Devin, thanks for reminding us. Yes. Click that like and subscribe.
But it's crazy that Democrats are running on, like Kamala's added to her campaign that, we have to change, like the last few years, we're on the wrong path. Like sort of like she's putting that message out that we're don't go back, but also like, we need to turn the page on what's happening now, kind of. Right. So if you're turning the page on what's happening now
for your tax rebate,
you're literally in charge. And I don't know. It's crazy that her first time on the border, which is not a real issue. We've said this over and over again, but like her first time even pretending was 2-3 days ago with this tough on crime cop thing. So
that's the Dick Cheney Democrats. Everybody vote. Democracy's on the ballot. All right. I kind of feel like we need to move into Israel, right? Is that where we're headed?
Sure.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Forcing another one.
First, we'll have a moment of joy. It's the joy campaign.
We must.
Yeah, baby.
We can't go to come back to some light. I love Vonnegut. He's my favorite writer, author, and when I read Slaughterhouse-Five for the first time, I hated the book until the very end, which was the strangest thing. Like the last couple pages where he sort of was like, "In here, and so it goes," or whatever. And then I was like, "I love this guy," which is such a weird thing to read, 200 pages of a book and hate it, and then and then read the rest of them. But he's a wise man. He was a wise man, and here's Vonnegut.
I did study anthropology at the University of Chicago, and what is beneficial about the study of anthropology is that you discover that human beings can believe absolutely anything without any harmful effects, which leaves us free to lie as much as we want. And there are a lot of American myths now, for instance, which I don't like very much and which are very dangerous. And I'd like to replace them with something else, and I think this is possible. And any violence there is in the American character has to do with the myths which are floating around. And it wasn't viciousness that brought the cowboy myth into being, or the gun-loving myth into being about Americans. This is a storytelling problem. It's a matter of a country needing a hell of a lot of stories written in a hurry. And so the shootout that occurs in the end of so many American stories is simply the problem of, we're out of town, or we're out of time, or we're out of space in this magazine or on this television show. We've got to end it, and we've got to end it in a way that the audience will leave the audience satisfied, and this is with death. And so here, what is supposed to be entertainment, the person who provides the entertainment is the writer, who has to end it satisfactorily. So we got this myth that came into being, and children believe it, and they grow up and they become adults, and they think that American history was made with a gun.
I mean, obviously, on some level, American history was made with a gun and continues to be, but I really understand his point. The whole individualism and pull yourself up from your bootstraps. Like, who does that help? It helps the people in power, because then they can just blame individuals. Like they want us to deal with a global pandemic on an individual basis.
Well, I mean, there's an opportunity out there for you to move up in the economy. The vaccine provided an opportunity for you to get COVID 20, 30 times. If that's all you're listening to is take the vaccine.
Yeah.
I mean, it is rugged individualism constantly pushed to the country. And that didn't used to be pushed by Democrats. And now it is. That's the new America First bullshit from Democrats.
They're going to out MAGA. I was trying to find, this is from Slaughterhouse-Five, but I really, can I just read this quotation from him?
Of course. And I want to give you credit because you found it, and Devin thought I found that clip, but
please, we find everything together. I have told my sons that they are not under any circumstances to take part in massacres, and that the news of massacres of enemies is not to fill them with satisfaction or glee. I've also told them not to work for companies which make massacre machinery, and to express contempt for people who think we need machinery like that. Having standards is so important, knowing what you won't settle for. I know I've told this story before, but my father was a classicist, a professor of Greek and Latin, and his father was a doctor, and his older brother was going into med school. And when he knew that that was not the path for him, and he sort of wanted to broach the subject with my grandfather, his father, my grandfather said, "That's great. I'll be proud of you. Just whatever you do, you can't go into business. Just don't be a businessman." And I think you gotta have some idea of what makes the world go round and who the evil really is. And if your whole focus is just an insatiable desire for more, you'll never be satisfied, and you will destroy so many people in your path. And that it really is. I mean, that is all capitalism is. They do not care who they destroy, clearly. All right, here we go. Massacre. Working ceaselessly for
$8.7 billion just now. I mean, this is on top of how many
after
billions?
The terrorist attack that they did in Lebanon last week.
The pagers and the laptops and whatnot going into Iran now.
Lebanon.
Yeah. I mean, Israel is basically pulling a Gaza in Lebanon now, right before our eyes. Everybody's seeing it. They're bombing the shit indiscriminately in Lebanon.
I mean, 6 city blocks decimated to get Nasrallah. And that is considered a victory, a targeted assassination. After already assassinating Hamia and the diplomat in Iran, like, this is a terrorism project that is just being funded by the US with joy, with like patting them on the back for, I mean, Kamala's statement about the blood of Americans on Nasrallah's hands, which, listen, you know, I always want to be careful because I wouldn't want to live under these regimes necessarily at all, but they don't come out of the blue. Hezbollah did not exist until the horrifying Holocaust, according to lefty Ronald Reagan, of Israel's invasion and siege of Lebanon in 1982. It was so appalling that the news media, and you know, we've shown this on CBS, is watching the IDF slaughter thousands of civilians just walking around. So horrifying that is when Israel started its department of Hasbara, of propaganda, explaining, right? And that is also when resistance movements grow. So you can kill the head of Hezbollah, which they did in 92, which is, or 92, yeah, which is when Nasrallah took over. But you're not going to kill, and they've even said they know, they've admitted, the top generals in the IDF, you're not going to end Hamas by killing people. It's a political project.
And again, it's just like Gaza in that, let's pretend you're justified for taking out that leader, or, you know, he's an enemy to you and he should be killed. They're indiscriminately they're indiscriminately bombing civilians and city blocks. Our money is going to this, and they're doing it all on repeat again in Lebanon. And the countries in the Middle East have all come together even before the UN and said, we are unified in looking for peace. If we just go back to the accord from before about the land settlement and letting Palestine be free.
Yeah.
Like agreed upon, you know, I don't know what year it was.
1967. You go back to the 1967 borders.
Yeah, the 67
that's like
accord.
that was the, I mean, it is, you know, when they say like, oh, this is where, you know, the Democratic Party is where progressives go to die. It's what the government always does, progressives, when they, or whatever, the Democratic Party, you know, we're going to form a council, a committee, we'll study. You don't need to study reparations anymore. We all know. You don't need to just have a study on gun violence. We all know. And this two-state solution and the peace process has been in play as a cover for all the violence for decades, and nothing has happened.
Yeah, the only group that has been against the two-state solution is Israel, which is why it's never going to happen.
as long as we keep supporting them. And as you said, like the exact same language is coming out now, just being parroted by the stenographers. What was this in Politico? You know, Biden told confidants in New York this week he was livid at Netanyahu and did not believe the Israeli leader wanted to reach peace. Frustrated about how often Netanyahu had humiliated Blinken and the president himself. And here is $8.7 billion. And as they are, sorry, go ahead.
No, but how are you so annoyed by this guy that you're, I mean, by this guy, like forget about the guy himself. You should be annoyed at the genocide. Like take him out of it. Like look at the actions, be annoyed at the actions. And if the actions are the problem, you don't give them $8.7 billion with no strings attached. Again, after the whole world is saying, what the fuck? After the UN is saying this is genocide, after all the Middle East countries are coming together and saying, we still want peace. They're showing restraint.
They're showing restraint
to Israel over and over again. They're showing they're the civilians and Israel they are the terrorists.
100%. And it was just NBC just wrote an article on the assassination of Nasrallah happened because he refused to extricate his demands from the demand of Hamas and Palestinians Hamas. Oh my God. Sorry. My brain, too much wine. That Palestine deserves to be free. Palestine deserves to be free. He refused to just negotiate like a sidebar. So this was Israel decided to kill Nasrallah after he refused to separate Lebanon from Gaza. Israel took the decisive decision, sorry, I put decisive in, the decision to assassinate Nasrallah after concluding he would not accept any diplomatic solution to ending the fighting on the Israel-Lebanon border that was not tied to an end to the war in Gaza. Israel had tried repeatedly to reach a separate diplomatic solution with Hezbollah since October 8th, but Nasrallah was adamant he would continue firing until Israel made a deal with Hamas. But here's the thing. So they killed him because he wanted peace for Palestine. They killed him because he wants there to be
he wouldn't take a separate deal.
Yeah.
He was showing solidarity with people in the region who are being genocided. I mean, this is so
they killed
clear.
the Hamia, who was the top negotiator for Gaza, for Palestinians. They killed him. Then they killed Nasrallah because he wanted it. And by the way, when there was that, what was it, like an 8-day, 10-day ceasefire, Hezbollah stopped firing rockets. They abided by it.
Obviously a reminder that we've said a million times over, but every peace agreement, every ceasefire ever in the region was broken by Israel.
And then there's this thing, you know, where we label everybody the U.S. labels everybody a terrorist that we don't like, right? We can be friends with MSB or, you know, Saudi Arabia and Egypt, and we can do deal, but, you know, the terrorists are Iran and Putin, not the Azov battalion. You know, it's like it all, there's just no consistency. It's all just whatever the U.S. wants. I don't know if you want to show it, but they're like, so you even have, and it's not that I think Tucker Carlson is a good journalist. Of course he's not. But there was this outcry when he interviewed Putin. Like, you're supposed, as a journalist, you are supposed to interview heads of state. That's your job. The American public needs to know, like, why are they doing this? Not because you forgive them or condone it or what, but like, is there a reason, or is it just happening out of the blue? When, you know, and there are pictures that people were posting of what just happened, what Israel just did to Lebanon, just flattening 6 apartment buildings in a residential neighborhood to get one person who just wanted peace for Palestine. And the wreckage is eerily similar to what it looked like at the beginning, or right after the Twin Towers fell on 9/11. And, you know, they're going to, when we suffer the blowback, and we will, and I mean, we don't deserve it, but like, we always get what the people in power deserve. So whatever, but like, they're going to say that they hate us for our freedoms. No, that's not why they hate us. That's why, by the way, they took down, you can't even find on the Guardian website anymore Osama bin Laden's letter. Again, I'm not condoning the attack on the Twin Towers, but it wasn't like, he wasn't doing it because he hates our freedoms. It was very tied to US imperialism, our project with Israel, and occupying and dominating Palestinians.
Yeah. And look, the response to that was to kill 1 million people that weren't involved in it from the US. So we went in and killed 1 million Iraqis, and the world looks at that and they know we got that wrong. I mean, people in the US even know, but like not like the world does. The world looks at it very differently than we do. And here we are back in this other conflict that we're clearly wrong about.
Yeah. And if you don't try, it's like the thing where do you condemn Hamas? We're about to come up on the October 7th. Oh my God. But do you condemn Hamas? And anytime anybody tried to give any context, no. It's like it all had to start on October 7th. Do you condemn Hamas? I don't know. I certainly won't say that out loud anymore for a long time. But anyway, in this, it's like a 30-minute interview with Assange. It's from 2012 with Assange and Nasrallah. And he says, I want Muslims, Christians, and Jews to live together in one state in peace. Again, I'm not saying that like he's perfect. Nobody's perfect. But he doesn't sound, he's not some crazy, deranged person who just wants to kill Americans and be a terrorist. He had actual demands, wanting peace for Palestinians and Israel. They're even said, like, that's why we kill them.
Yeah, let's show it.
Are you pushing the button?
What is your vision for the future of Israel and Palestine? What would Hezbollah consider victory? If you had that victory, would you disarm?
The state of Israel is an illegal state. It's a state that was established on the basis of occupying the lands of others, of usurping the lands of others, of controlling by force the lands of others, of committing massacres against the Palestinians who were expelled. And these include Muslims and Christians too. So for this reason, justice remains on the side where even if 10 years passes, the progress of time does not turn justice does not negate justice. If it's my house, if your house and I go and occupy it by force, it doesn't become mine in 50 or 100 years just because I'm stronger than you and I've been able to occupy your hands. That doesn't legalize my ownership of your house. At least this is our ideological view and our legal view. And we believe that Palestine belongs to the Palestinian people. But if we wanted to combine ideology and law and political realities and realities on the ground, we should say that the only solution is we don't want to kill anyone, we don't want to treat anyone unjustly, we want justice to be restored to the. And the only solution is the establishment of one state on the land of Palestine, in which the Muslims and the Jews and the Christians live in peace in a democratic state. Any other solution will simply not be viable and it will be sustained.
Again, like I can't get inside somebody's mind and what he truly believes or whatever. That seems perfectly reasonable, like someone you can have a conversation with, right? That's not a maniac.
No, it's not someone who just, hates our freedoms. It's about Christianity. It's some religious thing. It's not. I mean, when you're saying you want a society where Jewish people and Palestinians live together, that's not a religious war.
No. And, that's what, like, I don't know how many other interviews by Western journalists, he was able to do. But it is really interesting to me, and it's the same thing that they do with Putin. You know, again, not saying Putin's a good guy. Yes, done war crimes, just like, sorry, but like, I know I sound like Trump, but like, just like every US president. And when you make somebody this like worse than Hitler terrorist figure that you absolutely can't negotiate with, you don't give people many options. Like, it's been very clear, like Palestinians can't protest peacefully. They were shot out at the knees in 2017 and 2018. It was a game for IDF soldiers. How many of them can we give amputations to? Peaceful protest for a March of Return.
I mean, if you could point out how many countries have killed 1 million people uninvolved in the war, I mean, that's us. Not too many people do it. Putin might have done it. I don't know, but we definitely have. I mean, there's no doubt that Iraq was not behind 9/11 and we killed 1 million Iraqis.
And now Kamala is honored to have the endorsement of those people. That should have been like, that's what ended Hillary in 2008, honestly. Like, Obama was like, I would never have voted for that. And she's in bed with Wall Street. I mean, he turned out to be a big liar. He started 5 new wars. He was totally in bed with Wall Street. But like, that was enough for public perception and disgust for her. You know, I'm realizing we've had a few like amazing super chats that we haven't said. Maybe we should just do a quick one before, like, to thank everybody. Jimmy, thank you. Sorry, I know you probably had something important to say. So
I would rather acknowledge. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Jimmy, that's so kind. We really appreciate it. And Macarius. Yeah, I mean, they're not like this greater Israel, like everything that they say about Putin wanting greater Russia. Israel is now bombing 3 different countries while continuing their genocide on Gaza. Macarius, thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, 600,000 is like, that's what the Lancet basically came out with. And that was a couple months ago. I mean, they keep talking about on the news about 40,000 Palestinians have been killed. What? That they stopped counting months ago. And then, I mean, you know, we're not even getting into all the disgusting things that Israel's been doing in Gaza just recently, but like a truck just pulls up with dismembered body parts of 80 unidentified Palestinians and leaves it at a hospital.
Yeah. I mean, the death toll is astronomical, and the devastation afterwards for the next 20 years and people that are going to get cancer from all the rubble and whatnot is going to be also astronomical. Rebuilding Palestine itself, whatever resolution we come to, is going to be a monumental task. But right now, I saw some information that was like 1.9 million people, I think, were displaced in this so far from Palestine in less than a year. And it took Hitler 10 years to displace, I want to say 20,000 Jews or something. Like it was a really low number relevant
mid-20s to mid-30s.
Yeah, it was a really low number compared to the rapid speed of this. And to not call this genocide is just absurd. And, you know, obviously we all agree on that, but a pox on all the Democrats pretending this is fine.
And again, like they called what Putin was doing in Ukraine a genocide very early on. And again, don't think that he should have invaded. War crimes, yes. Another situation where there was history started before February 2022. There was a reason that he invaded. It wasn't just out of the blue for the fun of it. I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying, like, when people lack that context, it's really destructive, because when you see things in terms of black and white, like, when is the last time the US was the good guys in any of these conflicts, most of which are initiated by us or our, you know, vassal states that we fund?
A lot of the Ukraine situation relies on old propaganda from the US that communism was this trickle down theory of like, well, then, you know,
right. If we let it happen here,
they're
then
going to take
Cuba,
Vietnam, and then they're going to keep spreading out to Saigon, and you know,
yeah,
it's going to spread. And like Putin doesn't even have the strength to, or the army to keep spreading from here. He can't even take Ukraine, even though he will end up with a large portion of Ukraine. Inevitably, he will. It's just the reality of the situation. But like, we're not stopping the spread of communism or whatever Putin is allegedly behind. I mean, it's devastating.
They say it's like an imperial project.
Yeah, it's not. We're not looking at taking over the world. Russia's not going to ever do that. It's just.
And again, it's like that thing of like, well, even though he hasn't stated that he wants to. Well, you can't believe that. We know it's in his heart. We know that our friends have goodness in their heart, even when they do genocide, and that our enemies have evil in their heart, even when they're saying they want peace. One of the things I do think is interesting is, you know, Israel will always say, well, they use human shields. Why do they have their headquarters in civilian areas? And, you know, this is from 2012 in Haaretz. Does the presence of the IDF headquarters in Tel Aviv endanger the city's population? This is IDF headquarters right in the center. So just imagine, I mean, even just imagine like Netanyahu was in New York City for, you know, the UN speech that he gave, which was despicable about, you know, who's blessed and who's cursed. And it was all basically just appeal to capitalism, right? It was like, we could have this whole corridor and the whole Middle East and us, and it just like, it will just run right through Palestinians. We'll just destroy them. But so we can all just keep making money and connect Asia to Europe. And, but he was right in the heart of New York City. So if they had decided, hey, here's a genocidal maniac, let's just flatten 6 blocks of New York City, justified, it's targeted because we got our guy, even though thousands of other people were massacred, nobody would accept that. That would not be permissible.
And yet here we are provoking Iran constantly, provoking every Arab country in the region constantly. I mentioned it last time, but Iran has a massive drone stockhold. Like, Iran has the capability to go into Tel Aviv and blow shit up.
Yeah.
Iron Wall does not stop these drones, right?
Iron Dome.
They stop high projectile. So Iran is showing, but what's going to happen eventually, they're not going to show restraint. They're going to need to show some solidarity and aggression. And then what does that do? That pulls us into this thing. And that's what they're trying to avoid. But that's where this goes.
I mean, Israel really is trying to start World War III, right? It'll be Iran, China, and Russia, the 3 baddies, the axis of evil. And we're doing all of that again. And they hate us for our freedom because they cannot live in peace with Palestinians.
And I mean, a lot of this is connected to BRICS and the fact that we're losing our economic power in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get into all that right now, but it
is all tied, right? Capitalism is a
US.
That's just,
we are like, but we're like the peak. I don't know what you want to call it, but we're the apex capitalists, basically, in the US, right? So
the zenith. We're
the zenith. We're the zenith capitalists, and we're the zenith failures right now. We are highlighting why capitalism is not successful for its own people. It's successful for the people who run this system, this government.
And they have a lot of
us,
loyalty. They're like one big union. These the leaders of the world. And I know it gets into this, like, the globalist stuff tends to then start to go like conspiratorial and anti-Semitic. And I'm not, but the leaders of the world all have each other's back. It's one big mega oil company.
Right, because the U.S. especially is not run by interests of our own country. Like the corporations dictating and literally writing legislation in this country are doing it on behalf of companies like Coca-Cola and Chevron that are global nationalist groups whose interests are mostly in not us caring about our country. Like they don't care about us. Their profits are global. So the destruction of our environment here benefits them. The destruction of the production of bombs that make us less safe benefits all these bomb makers. You know, and we are, like I said, we're the peak capitalists. So we're most affected by how little our government cares about us and cares more about capitalism.
Yeah, and their goal of separating the working class and criminalizing protests and criminalizing social media and information getting out there is all to keep us from the solidarity that they get to display to each other when they hook up at Davos or the World Economic Forum or whatever. But I think it's becoming clearer and clearer. It's 7:06. What do you think?
It is. We went over without even thinking. Well, we don't have a real cap on it, but kind of try to go 2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to bore everyone too much. I'm salty.
I know. I mean, me too. It's late, and we didn't solve any of the issues. Every once in a while, Devin just writes that, and I know he must do it to make me angry. But thank you, Lori. There, that's all. And now we got to go. No, I'm kidding. All right. Tuesday night. Don't worry. You don't need to watch the JD Vance, Tim Walz debate. Pat and I will watch that, so you don't have to, and we will dissect it on Wednesday. Oh God, there will be
Lila will be watching. I'll watch a couple clips. No,
much
I'll watch
alcohol imbibed.
I'll enjoy it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on Wednesday. Until then, we love you guys. Thank you for hanging out with us. Keep punching up.
Cheers.
Cheers.
In Palestine and all over the world, the fight against colonialism and corporations' destruction of the planet are intrinsically linked. Look at Chevron. Everyone knows that Chevron is one of the world's biggest climate criminals. But the oil giant is also fueling Israel's genocide in Palestine. As Israel bombs hospitals, homes, and schools in Gaza, Chevron supplies them with energy from 2 Israeli-claimed gas fields in the Mediterranean, making millions in the process. Ending Israel's genocide in Gaza and Israeli apartheid is a climate justice issue. Israel is destroying Palestinian lives, but also destroying Palestinian lands and resources through its warfare and industries that pollute and destroy the environment. We cannot stand by and do nothing. I'm joining Palestinian global calls to boycott Chevron. Together we are calling for Chevron to withdraw from its projects with Israel. Join the movement to defend human rights and protect the planet by pledging to boycott Chevron now.